Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This week I'm going to talk about macronutrients, proteins, carbohydrates and fats. In addition to this, I'll be debunking some popular myths about all three and explaining the pros and cons. So let's get started with protein. Protein is a useful macronutrient because it aids the following: muscle repair and recovery, thermogenic capabilities, and it assists the development of skin, muscles, organs and glands. Protein is also used in a supplement in the form of whey. You might have heard of whey protein before. Someone might supplement their protein goals or needs with whey protein. In a training context, this could be used to help repair muscle fibers that have been torn through exercise. So some protein myths. You may hear people say that protein makes you physically bigger and stronger. This isn't strictly true. Exercise makes you bigger and stronger. Protein is used, as I said before, to help repair muscle fibers. So when you go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, you may feel quite sore, and this is what's known as delayed onset muscle soreness, or DOMS for short. And this is essentially where during that exercise you've torn muscle fibers to a certain extent where you then start to feel sore when you use them. i.e. if you have just done a leg day, for example, in the gym, you may find it quite hard to walk, or you may have like a limp, for example. And the reason we use protein is to help make the DOMS slightly more bearable. So protein will help to repair the muscle fibers that you've torn through exercise. What it also means is that because you're not in so much pain through tearing muscle fibers, it means that you can train more frequently. This is where you get bigger and stronger, because the more frequently you tear muscle fibers, they of course have to grow back, and this is where you get bigger and stronger. So if you hit the right protein goals per day, you could end up going to the gym 6 or 7 times a week. If you do effective resistance training, this is where you're going to see changes in size and strength. So don't expect to get bigger or stronger by adding in a chicken breast or drinking a whey protein shake a couple of times a week, because it's not going to happen. Carbohydrates. This is a big one. A lot of people are afraid of carbohydrates because they've heard rumours that it makes you fatter, or it makes you feel bigger, or it makes you feel bloated. Carbohydrates actually contain the same calories per gram as protein. So for every 1 gram of carbohydrates contains 4 calories, the same as protein. So why does everyone panic? The reason for the panic is that when you consume carbohydrates, they're stored in your body as glycogen. Each gram of glycogen holds up to 3 grams of water. So if you eat a lot of carbohydrates in a day, you'll unknowingly consume a lot of water weight as well. At some point, the body will naturally flush out this water retention, and your weight will return to normal. During my weight loss, I found that my weight on the scale, my scale weight, can stall for up to 3 days. So I'll be in a consistent calorie deficit for weeks, and for up to 2 to 3 days my weight won't change, and then suddenly after the 3rd or 4th day it then drops. And that is essentially water retention. I consume a lot of carbohydrates every day, so I'll also be consuming a lot of water weight as well. After a while, it's entirely individual. There's no set standard for how long it takes the body to get rid of water retention, but after a while it will, and your weight will drop back to normal. I've heard a lot of people say that consuming bread, for example, or pasta makes people feel fat, makes them feel heavy, or like they can feel it sitting in the stomach, and I can understand that. I get that every time I eat carbohydrates, but I would rather benefit from the added energy from the glycogen in carbohydrates and my weight stall for 2 or 3 days than not eat carbohydrates at all and feel lethargic and tired all the time. Apart from that, carbohydrates are a really useful tool. Not only can you find them in breads or even sweets, the whole point is that they store energy available that you can use. So if you are training in a gym, a lot of people recommend to eat carbohydrates before you go, because if you get the timing right, the glycogen will enter your body and you'll be able to benefit from the added energy. This is a personal opinion. I know some people think different, but carbohydrates for me are definitely the most satiating macronutrient available. So If I'm really hungry and it just won't go away, I'll eat loads of carbs, and potentially for the next 4 or 5 hours I won't have to think about food, because I just find them so satiating and hydrating as well. For people such as myself that have a big appetite, carbs are not the enemy, but they can be your secret weapon. Look at this lockdown beard coming on. And last but not least, fats, another macronutrient covered in myths. Quite rightly, people associate fats with being fat. I quite often refer to fats as sneaky calories, so calories that you don't always see. Because you don't necessarily use a lot of fats, people tend to think, well, there's not much there, so there can't be many calories in it. But in actual fact, like I said before, protein and carbohydrates contain 4 calories per gram. Fats contain 9 calories per gram, so over double that of protein and carbohydrates. However, fats are very useful to making your meals in your diet just that little bit more bearable. After a while, bland chicken and fish does get quite boring, and adding a teaspoon of butter or a teaspoon of oil to your chicken, for example, can make it taste just that little bit better and make your diet that much easier. And if you can fit it into your macros, then get it in. Not only that, but fats are also good for hormone levels, so it's important to not discard fats just because it's associated with being overweight. As long as you manage it correctly, you can still consume butter and oil and all the stuff that makes food taste amazing and still lose weight and stay in a calorie deficit. It's important to remember that diets are hard enough as they are. If we can make them enjoyable as well, then that's a win-win. So to sum up, all 3 macronutrients are very useful and essential to human function. They all play different roles, but collectively, they all help to support the human body. And you can track all 3 on the wonderful app called MyFitnessPal.